China's economy is in trouble and fears the country.
The debt supercycle that came for the U.S. and Europe after the 2008 financial crisis could be knocking on China's door. They said that it is over.
China's economy has been a major player in the global economic scene for a while now. But recently, there's been a lot of talk about a crisis brewing in China's economy. This has got people wondering what it could mean for everyone else around the world.
This is the deepest and longest deflation in China since 1998 Asian financial crisis.
For years, China's economy was on fire, growing really fast and making a lot of things. This growth helped lift millions out of poverty and made China a key player in the global marketplace. But things have started to slow down lately, and that's causing some serious concerns. In this video, we'll take a closer look at what's going on with China's economy. We'll talk about why it was booming before, what's causing the crisis now, and most importantly, what it all means for the rest of the world. So let's dig in and find out what China's economy crisis could mean for everyone else. The signs showing China's economy is in trouble are getting clearer. One big sign is the slowing down of GDP growth. From April to June of 2023, the growth rate was only 0.4% compared to the same time last year. This slow growth tells us there are serious problems affecting the economy. Also, China's factories, which are a big part of its economy, are not doing so well. Factory activity, which is like a measure of how much stuff they make, has slowed down. This slowdown doesn't just affect China, it affects the whole world because China makes a lot of stuff that's used everywhere. Another problem is the property crisis. This means that there's a problem with the housing market.
Expecting any meaningful recovery in Chinese property market in 2024.
Like prices going down or not enough people buying houses. When this happens, it can mess up the whole economy. And we'll take a closer look at it later on in the video. Along with the property crisis, there's also deflationary pressures happening in China. This basically means that prices for things are going down instead of up. When this happens, it's not good for the economy because people might stop spending money since they think prices will keep dropping. These problems have been going on for a while now and are making things tough for China's economy. They're part of why the economy is slowing down, and they're causing a lot of worries for people in China and around the world. Now, let's take a closer look at a major problem for China's economy, which is in the real estate market. This is a big deal because the real estate sector plays a huge role. It's responsible for about 1/3 of China's economy. Here's what's going on. First off, China has put a lot of focus on building houses and buildings over the years. But now, there's too much focus on it. About 40% of all the money that banks lend out goes to the real estate sector. Plus, a whopping 70% of people's savings are invested in real estate. That's a lot. For a while, things were looking good. The prices of houses were going up, and so was the amount of money being lent out. But then, problems started to show up. The government saw that too much money was being poured into real estate, so they decided to put some limits on it. They introduced what they call the 3 red lines policy in August 2020. This policy says that real estate companies can't borrow too much money from banks. If they do, they're in trouble.
Problems in China's housing market have been in plain sight. Vast urban areas have been unoccupied.
One of the biggest real estate companies, Evergrande, got caught up in this mess. They couldn't pay back the massive loans they took, and that caused a chain reaction. Other real estate companies started having the same problem. This situation isn't good for China's economy because it means less money flowing into the real estate market and fewer houses being built. When this happens, it affects a lot of other industries too, like construction and banking. When real estate was booming, China's real estate market was doing really well after the housing reform in 1998. In 2021, the money made from selling properties was more than 18 trillion yuan. $2.49 trillion. The real estate market was about a quarter of China's economy. People expected it to grow 3.06% every year from 2024 to 2028. But in 2023, the crisis hit, and the real estate market didn't do as well. In the first 2 months, sales of new homes only grew by 3.5% to 1.4 trillion yuan, $201 billion. Big state-owned banks are having a hard time because they have to help the economy and save property developers who owe a lot of money. The new home market, worth $2.4 trillion, isn't recovering. Sales of homes fell about 30% in the first 8 months of the year, and investment in property fell more than 7%. So in simple terms, the real estate sector crisis is a big problem for China. It's like a chain reaction that started with too much focus on building houses and ended with companies unable to pay back their loans. The property crisis and deflationary pressures in China aren't just affecting China. They're having a big impact on the whole world. See, China is a big player in the global economy, so when things go south there, it affects everyone else too. Here's how. First, let's talk about the economy. China is a big player in global trade. It makes a lot of stuff that's used all over the world, like electronics and clothes. So, if China's economy slows down, it means less stuff being made and less stuff being sold. This can hurt businesses and industries in other countries that rely on China for goods. Next, let's look at pharmaceuticals. China is a major supplier of ingredients used to make medicines and other healthcare products. If there's problems in China's economy, it could lead to shortages of these ingredients. This could affect people's access to important medicines and healthcare products, not just in China, but in other countries too. Finally, let's consider the interconnectedness of global markets. When one country's economy struggles, it can have a domino effect on other countries. Investors get worried, businesses lose confidence, and consumers stop spending. This can lead to a chain reaction that slows down economic growth worldwide. So in simple terms, what happens in China doesn't stay in China. It can have far-reaching effects on the global economy. That's why it's important for everyone to pay attention to what's happening in China and to work together to find solutions that can help stabilize the situation and minimize the impact on the world economy. To understand why China's economic slowdown is such a big deal, we need to look back at how China grew so fast in the first place. For a long time, China was mostly known for farming, but then they started making a ton of stuff and selling it around the world. This made China super rich and lifted millions of people out of poverty. It also made China the second biggest economy in the world. But now with the slowdown, people are worried about what it means for China and the rest of the world. One of the big things that happened during China's economic boom was the rise of the middle class. This means that a lot of people in China went from being poor to having more money to spend. And when people have more money, they buy more things like cars, phones, and fancy makeup. This growth in the middle class was a big deal for companies all over the world. Companies like Volkswagen, Apple, and Estee Lauder saw their sales skyrocket in China. They started selling way more stuff than they did before, which made them a lot of money. But now with the economic slowdown in China, things are changing. People aren't spending as much money, so companies aren't making as much money either. This is bad news for those companies and for the countries they come from. It means they might have to find other places to sell their stuff, which could be tough. In addition to the economic challenges, there are also some political and international issues at play that are making things harder for China. One big challenge comes from other countries, especially the United States. There's been a lot of tension between China and the US over things like trade and technology. The US has put tariffs, which are basically taxes on imported goods, on a lot of Chinese products. And there are also limits on how much technology China can buy from other countries. All of these tensions make it harder for China to do business with other countries, which hurts its economy even more. It also makes other countries think twice about investing in China, which can have a big impact on China's growth. Another challenge comes from within China itself. The government has been trying to control the economy by cracking down
巩固和增强经济回升向好态势，实现经济行稳致远。
on things like bad loans and risky investments. But these efforts have led to a lot of uncertainty among investors, both in China and abroad. When people are unsure about what's going to happen, they're less likely to invest money, which can slow down economic growth even more. Overall, these challenges, both domestic and international, are making it harder for China to keep growing its economy like it used to. And that's something that's affecting not just China, but the whole world. All these economic problems are hitting Chinese workers hard. People are losing their jobs, especially young folks who are just starting out in the workforce. And even for those who still have jobs, salaries are going down, making it harder to make ends meet.
Stephanie is not alone.
我被裁员了。
我被裁员了，原因是因为我的成本比较高。
我失业了。
For example, a lot of young people are struggling to find work, and even those who do often have to settle for lower-paying jobs. This means they have less money to spend, which can slow down economic growth even more. People might wait to buy things if they think those things will cost less in the future. This can make companies earn less money, so they might stop hiring new people or even let some workers go. If China sells a lot of cheap goods to other countries, it could hurt companies in those countries. This could lead to less jobs in those countries.
It's a bit of a surprise to me because there are a number of discouraged fresh graduates that went back to their home and stopped looking for a job.
If prices keep falling in China, companies might make less money and people might spend less. This could lead to more people losing their jobs. Overall, the economic slowdown in China is having a big impact on people's lives. They're worried about their jobs and their money, and they're not sure what the future holds. And that's something that's affecting not just China, but the whole world. The economic troubles in China could also have implications for taxpayers in the United States. See, for years, China has been one of the biggest buyers of US government debt. This is basically money that the US government borrows to pay for things like public services. But if China's economy slows down, it might not be able to buy as much US debt. And if that happens, it could become more expensive for the US government to borrow money. That means taxpayers could end up paying more in taxes to cover the cost of borrowing. So even if you're not directly affected by China's economic troubles, you could still feel the effects through your taxes. And that's something that could have a big impact on people's lives in the United States. In wrapping up, it's clear that China's economic troubles have serious consequences worldwide. Issues like property crisis, deflation, and tensions with other countries affect not just China, but everyone else too. To stay informed and prepared for what's ahead, it's important to keep an eye on the world of tech and business. Understanding how economies are connected helps us navigate through tough times. For more updates on tech and business news, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.